guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to give an article titled, Could a Bad Marriage Kill You? Unsatisfactory relationships are as bad for you as smoking, say scientists. And a big shout out to Tom for sending me this article. And guys, this whole article is going to go over this scientific study that was done over in Israel with like 10,000 participants over the course of 30 years. And what they found is that the guys that were in the really unhappy marriages with all this bickering and drama and problems, all that, went to an early grave much faster than guys that were actually in happy, stable relationships, okay? And I'm sure many of you guys that are watching this now that were once married in bad marriages where there was always drama, there was always fighting, all the BS, which I talk about all the time in the videos, you know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? And now you guys are single and on your own, and you're doing pretty darn good and feeling pretty good, okay? And it's amazing to me because I know a number of guys that are in pretty good marriages, actually, okay? They seem relatively happy, okay? And I've known them a while, and I would know otherwise. But I also have friends and know guys that are in very unhappy marriages. It's really a sad thing to see. And believe me, these guys in their 30s look like they were pushing 50. I mean, their hair grayed earlier, they started losing their hair, and they're always just unhappy. And you see them with their wives, and they're unhappy too, and the kids aren't happy. I mean, it's crazy. One of my buddies, when I turned 40, had a big party thrown for me, and I had a picture taken with one of my friends I've been friends with for a long time. And I was 40, so he was 45. He's 5 years older than me. And I've always looked younger than my age. I'm 43 now, but a lot of people think I'm easily in my low to mid 30s. In that picture, people thought I looked like I was about 35, but my friend, who's 5 years older than me, who's in a very unhappy marriage, I'm sorry to say, he looked like he was pushing 60. I'm not kidding you. The beard is gray, the receding hair is skinny, he just looked exhausted, and it's really a shame. And he's only 5 years older than me. Okay, now not to mention the fact that he drinks all the time, he occasionally smokes, he eats a lot of garbage, which I've been telling him not to do for years, but he doesn't listen to me. But all that, and those were coping mechanisms, I might add, for him with his unhappiness. But he stays with her. He stays with her because he doesn't want to ruin things for the daughter. But now the daughter's growing up in a house where mom and dad can't stand each other, and you know where I'm going from. You know where I'm going from there at that point. So it's really unfortunate. And so, guys, life is short. And I tell you now, in today's world, you really want to think twice before you put a ring on some girl's finger. Because, again, how things are nowadays, how the deck is stacked against guys, how you could do everything right. And depending on where you live, what country you are in, or depending on what state with no-fault divorce states, you can do everything right and be the perfect model husband and still get royally screwed over if she cheats or does something horrible, okay? And so you really want to think about that. And, of course, how things go typically when, the old bait and switch wife, you think everything's great, and then you put a ring on her finger and she gains 60 pounds within 2 years. She stops being the same person. She starts being a big pain in the ass and all that. I'm not saying all the time. There are some good women out there, okay? It's become more and more rare, but there are some good ones, and there are some people who do actually have good relationships, but it's becoming more rare. So anyhow, I'm going to go through this article here, and you're going to see more I'm talking about here, about how these bad marriages, these bad relationships are unfortunately causing all sorts of health problems for guys and putting them in an early grade. So it makes you might want to think twice before you say I do, or at the very least, really do your homework on the girl and be with her for years, getting to know what she's really like in every situation before you even consider taking this leap. So, starts off, if you're stuck in a Let me start over. If you are stuck in a dissatisfying marriage, alarming new research from Israel suggests you should get marriage therapy or risk being put into an early grave. Or don't get married at all. Exploring extensive health data going back more than 30 years, a team from Tel Aviv University tracked the deaths and causes of death of more than 10,000 Israeli men. It says being unhappy with your marriage or even perceiving your marriage as bad made the men as likely to die from cerebrovascular conditions such as stroke or blocked arteries at the same rate as smoking and lack of physical activity. So simply just being that unhappy and that stressed out all the time, same damaging effects on the same level as this, according to this study, as smoking and other bad things you do to yourself or lack of physical activity. It is amazing how the mind and what we're going through here in our mind and emotionally and all that can impact the body. It's crazy. He says, those men who felt their marriage was unhappy were 69.2% more likely to die from stroke than those who were happy in their marriage, authors found. Well, sadly, a lot of those guys got to the point they probably were happy to go on to the next world because they couldn't stand being around their better half. That's a shame. 69.2% more likely. Unbelievable. When considering all cases of premature death among the men, the rate of death was 19% higher in men who said their marriage was unsatisfactory. Study authors say health authorities should promote marriage therapy as a way to improve their men's health and help them live longer. Well, if you're gonna get married, and if things are bad, and if you're gonna do therapy, make sure it's not one-sided therapy where the therapist is taking things along the path to basically just go along with what the wife wants. Okay, it's got to be equal here. The therapist, man or woman, is working on with both people, both the husband and the wife. Okay, not just one, as it usually goes. And even then, I'm questioning about the whole therapy thing. But yeah, look at this. I mean, just being that unhappy. I mean, like I said, I have friends where I've seen them just go gray and be just they're like walking zombies. And it's like, what the hell are you doing? And the old staying in for the kids thing. The kids see this. And the kids are unhappy. And the kids are walking around in eggshells, not wanting to make things worse. And the kids are in the other room crying when mom and dad are fighting. It's really a mess. The kids are better off, in my opinion, in the opinion of many, if mom and dad split up and they have a second chance of they're happily separated than unhappily married. And maybe they get their shit together, at least one parent. They can learn from their mistakes and have a more stable, healthy, not toxic relationship with the next time around, and the kids can see something like this. It's a lot better than staying in it and just letting the kids observe this unhappiness, because mark my words, those kids are very likely to repeat the same thing that their parents do because they figured that's normal, that's how things are. I'm supposed to fight, I'm supposed to be unhappy, I'm supposed to have all this drama, and they'll seek out relationship like this. It's not an accident. CVA covers a variety of conditions that affect blood flow to the brain, including stroke, transient ischemic attack, aneurysms, and blocked arteries. Our study shows that the quality of marriage and family life has health implications for life expectancy, says study author Dr. Shahar Lev Ari. Men who reported they perceived their marriage as failure died younger than those who experienced their marriages as very successful. Well, that also makes sense to me because men are very about success and purpose and things like that. So if they feel like they're a failure, it's going to have a negative effect on how they feel about themselves, their lives, their worth, all that, self-esteem. On the other hand, if they are in a happy marriage and it's in their view successful, they feel better about themselves. They feel like successes, and you're going to be you feel better, you act better, and so forth. As part of the study, the researchers conducted statistical analysis of a database that started gathering data in the 1960s. For 32 years, they tracked the health and behavior of 10,000 men, all Israeli state employees, paying close attention to death from stroke. At the beginning of the study, most of the participants were in their 40s, and since it started in the 1960s, a total of 64% died from a range of illnesses. He says, we wanted to analyze the data gathered longitudinally, using various parameters to identify behavior and psychological risk factors that can predict death from CVA and premature death for any reason, says study author Dr. Shahar Lev Ari. Early on in the 32-year-long study, participants were asked to rank their level of marriage satisfaction on a scale from 1, very successful, to 4, unsuccessful. Well, how many ones do you think they got? Probably not a whole lot. In other words, the level of satisfaction with marriage has emerged as a predictive factor for life expectancy at a rate comparable with smoking and physical activity. During the 32 years of follow-up, 5,736 subjects died and 595 died from a stroke. Rates of stroke mortality increased by 69.2% from 24 in the most satisfied group to 40 in the least satisfied group, the authors discovered. Rates of all-cause mortality increased by 19% from 248.5 in the most satisfied group to 295.3 in the least satisfied group. Still want to get married, guys? A sensitivity analysis found that the rate of mortality of younger volunteers, those under 50 years old, in the least satisfied category at recruitment was 39.4% higher than those in the most satisfied category. A less dramatic increase of 6.5% was seen in older study participants. He says at a higher age, the gap is smaller, perhaps due to the process of adjustment that life partners go through over time, according to the doctor. Or their wives have gone on to the great beyond, and they're now feeling quite content and happy that they're finally alone. Maybe that's a factor playing into it. It says, in addition, the researchers conducted a statistical analysis of all known risk factors contributing to death from cardiovascular diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, excessive BMI, and socioeconomic status. They found that the relative risk for death for any reason among the unhappily married versus the happily married was 1.21 higher among those dissatisfied with their marriages. This rate is similar to data in the literature regarding smokers and those leading a sedentary life, the team explained. So right up there, the unhappiness is impacting the body just as much as somebody that smoked their whole lives or just sat around and didn't do anything. Which, by the way, guys, if you do smoke, please do what you can to get off it. You're not helping yourself. I know many of you know this. Don't mean to give you too much of a lecture, but you got to know this. And as for exercise, extremely important. Even if you go for a damn walk, for a bit every day, that's something compared, because a lot of people don't do shit. And as many of you know, I'm a personal trainer, so I'm always promoting exercise. And it doesn't mean you have to be running half marathons every other weekend or something like that, but just, you got to take care of yourself. You got to stay active, okay? Use it or lose it. I'm not kidding you. I used to work with a guy in a assisted living facility for years. And most of the people in there were on walkers or wheelchairs or at canes. And some of them weren't that old, nowadays at least. And there was this one guy, he was 85 years old. And this dude was always walking. Always. Cool dude. He was in the Navy, and I found he had a whole history of exercise. He used to run marathons, he used to lift weights, but now every day that dude is walking, whether it's snowing outside or raining outside, and if he can't go outside, he's walking the hallways, and he said he kept this up his whole life. And even though he was 85, the dude looked like he was barely 72. He took care of himself. But a lot of the people didn't do that. So guys, get out there, exercise, keep moving, okay? You don't need to train like a future bodybuilder. You don't need to go running half marathons every other week or something ridiculous like that. Just get out there and move. Your life will be so much better. And cut the fucking smoking and reduce the alcohol. All right, there's my little lecture. Even though it wasn't supposed to be a lecture, there's my little lecture. Anyhow. It goes on, these findings were consistent with other studies that have shown the effectiveness of educational programs fostering good life partnerships as part of a national strategy to promote health and wellness for the public at large, said the doctor. And this study has been published by the Journal of Clinical Medicine. So in other words, being in a stressful situation is going to have a negative impact on your health. That's why it's so important to, guys, be in situations that you are comfortable and relaxed and happy. You want to minimize as much drama and bullshit in your life. This is why I tell you guys how important it is to be very selective who you spend your time with. Are you going to have people in your lives that you hang out with and you associate with that are going to bring a whole lot of turmoil and drama in your life? Well, it's going to have a negative effect on your health. Okay, this focuses on marriages, but having all that type of shit in your life is going to have a negative effect on your health as well. And it also deals with family. And when I say family, I don't mean like your wife and kids. I'm talking about just like brothers, cousins, aunts. You know what I'm talking about. If you got family members that cause nothing but drama and turmoil for you, cut them loose. You get to a certain point in life, guys, you're an adult as well. You don't need them in your fucking life anymore, okay? I got family members I have nothing to do with because of all the bullshit that happened when I was younger, okay? And it makes me be perceived as a jerk. So be it. I don't care. My life is pretty darn good, but I do work very hard to take care of myself in terms of both exercise and good eating and next to no alcohol. I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't have bullshit, and I had people in my life that are great people that make me, that's the trick. But of course we're focusing on marriage here, so Jeff, basically, you know what I think about marriage, okay? And like I said, you got to take a long time to get to know that person and really see what they're like if you're even considering doing that. I wouldn't recommend in today's world, but I know a lot of you guys that follow me, either you are married or you are simply, because of your culture, because of your religion, because I got people follow me all over the world, and there in their certain cultures and religions, I mean, you're going to get married, no ifs, ands, or buts. So you got to understand that for a lot of you guys that, most of my people here are in the United States that follow me. So it's different in different parts of the world. But if you're going to do it, you got to be in a situation where you have good communication and you both can work on things and there's no passive-aggressive crap and drama and all that. You don't need that. Of course, there's going to be stresses with family and finances and kids, but if you're in good communication and you actually both give a shit about each other and care, and you get somebody that's actually half decent, then it can be a little different. But you know my views. And real quick here, there was another part of the article that had a 2010 World Health Organization study about how is marriage good for your health. And I'm going to read this real quick, and I'm going to let you hear what they have to say here. Real quick, it says, we're social creatures. In the past, we've always lived in packs and groups, and in today's world, with pressure and demands, it's healthy to have a sounding board to share the ups and downs of the day. Yes, we are social creatures, and it's important for us to be around others and all that. I agree. In 2010, the World Health Organization found marriage can reduce the risk of depression and anxiety for anxiety in singles, and more likely to suffer the blues than those who are married. So they're trying to say those that are married are going to be less likely to have depression than people that are single. I call bullshit on that. I know plenty of people that are single that are as happy as can be, and I know people that are married that are freaking miserable. But the interesting thing is, a lot of people that are single were married, went through all that, but now they know, now they're single and happy, you know. But I think a lot of times the ones that are single, which they're talking about, that are unhappy, usually are the women, because a lot of women think if they don't get married, they're losers. You know, you'll notice a lot of women as they get to their late 20s get very anxious because if they're not on their way to the altar, they don't have a guy, or they're not engaged, or at least have a guy that's going somewhere, okay? Because that pressure they put on themselves, or they call the societal pressure, you know? So I think this is more geared towards women. I don't think about men. They go on, they say, last year, Aston Medical School in Birmingham released details of a 13-year study of 1 million participants and concluded that being married is better for your health than being single. Bullshit, 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 bullshit. Okay, I don't care if this is the World Health Organization study. I think this is biased. I think this is for a purpose. Because remember, about this time, a lot of countries are starting to freak out because birth rates have been dropping. And of course, governments are freaking out because they need more taxpayers to help support people when they get old. They need future consumers and all that. So I call bullshit on this, but this is what they're saying. It says married individuals were less likely to die from conditions such as type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. Maybe they're making the argument that if people that are single and unhappy because they're single are more likely to not get off the couch and exercise because they're bummed, eat a lot of junk food to cope and deal with, and therefore have the high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol. The researchers cited that one reason for improved health was the encouragement received from their partner to eat healthy, get through enough exercise, and take their medication. Perhaps not surprisingly, men fared even better than women. So, again, I call bullshit on that study, unless they were targeting mainly women that were single and they were unhappy, because, you don't have a whole lot of guys that are... I've yet to meet a guy in his late 20s that was all bummed and depressed because he wasn't either married or on his way to the altar with some chick. Okay, I know some guys, they want to have relationships, but they didn't give a shit about getting married. Okay, but I think that was catered towards the women. And also, call me conspiracy theorist, but I think that study was aimed to try to get people to get married because a lot of governments were freaking out because they need babies. They need us to breed for, again, future taxpayers to support the aging population, and of course, future consumers and future workers to be a small part in the giant-ass machine that is the world. That's what I think. So, but anyhow, guys, putting that part aside, interesting article there about the stress of marriage and leading people to an early grave. I'm sure many of you guys that either are married now or were married and in bad situations, you can wholeheartedly agree on that. So it's good to be in situations and around people in general that are going to bring you up, not take you down. It'd be a pleasant experience because all these things can take you to an early grave. It's not worth it. So be very careful, guys, who you get into relationships with, who you spend your time with, all that. So important. And the negative effects of that really can have a negative impact and shorten your life. You don't need that because life is short. I want you guys to have great, happy lives. That's my goal, to help you guys. So anyhow, enough of that. That is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.